All right, let's take a look at the plate today. The plate, or some people call the harp, or what I like to call that big metal thing. And let's talk about some of the challenges with this particular plate. And challenge is a nice way of saying that the guys who made this thing kind of screwed it up. And I've tried to set this up so you can see it. I'm not sure because I can't see that well, but this plate has an area where the tuning pins come very close to this part of the plate. Now this is a tuning pin, and they go through these holes. The wires come through here, and they go into the tuning pin. The tuning pin goes down into the block where my left hand is, and that's how the tuner turns them to tune the wire. So, and piano wire, if you didn't know it, it's very strong and it has a lot of tension. So that means the piano wire is working overtime to pull this tuning pin forward like that. It never sleeps like some other things. It doesn't sleep. It's pulling on there all the time. So what you want to do, what's nice to do, is to start these tuning pins leaning back against that pull of the wire, X amount. I forgot how much it is, 8, 12 degrees. Too long ago, I just have my stuff set up so it does it. But you can see where if they didn't put these little reliefs in here, the tuning pin would foul on the pin block, foul on this plate here, which if you center this pin in here and you lean it back, yeah, it is actually going to touch the plate over on the left side here, because this hole is not where it should be. This hole and this hole are not where they quote unquote should be. So you could do a couple of things. I could just leave these straight up and down, which the way Mason Hamlin does this, they may have actually drilled these straight up and down to begin with. I didn't see the piano when it was new. Because this is just a thin piece of felt here, and they may have had these straight up and down, but I want to start with these pins leaning back a little bit. So I have also, because I've done it before, I know that taking a little bit of the metal off of here, a 1/16 or an 1/8 of an inch, a skimming of the metal off of there, this plate's not going to break. That's not the way the tension works on the plate. So I feel confident in doing that just by virtue of the fact I think I understand the way it works, and I also have done it before and I didn't die. So that's that little bit. So let's look at what else is going on here. I'm going to replace these A-grafts. They're old. You can recondition the A-grafts, clean them up, recondition the surface in there, but to me it's just easier and nicer to put this thing in here, spray the plate, and then I will put in new A-grafts. One reason I like to do it is these things do break over time, sometimes, very rarely, but they do break. And if you can see, this is an old A-graft that was flat on the bottom, and these were more challenging to put in correctly, and some guys would cheat and overstress these to get them in right. And nowadays we have this kind of shape on here where it's much easier to put the A-graft in there with the right amount of tension without overstressing it. And moving on. Here, I've just laid out some of the pieces. I sent this to the plater. This is where the strings are going to come over here. I wanted a new surface here. I sent these out to get plated. I want a new surface there. I don't know if I showed this before or not, but the capo bar where the strings are going to run, if you can see it, if it'll focus on there, is polished up. Nice smooth surface. So basically it's going to have the strings are going to look at this like a new piano. So I don't know if I left anything out with that. Just a quick note: the guys who made this piano did me a solid, as we used to say in the 70s, and they put the shim in here. So this piano, like a lot of pianos, the the soundboard is going to usually go down and lose a little crown. So you can pull this off to get bearing. When I make a new soundboard, I aim to put a shim in here as well. It doesn't always work out that way, but I aim to do that. So I don't know if we're going to need that or not, because you remember the whole crux of this video is about the fact that the soundboard actually had a real distortion up here where the soundboard was actually crowned more than usual. So I'm not too worried about running out of bearing or crown or anything. But here is our soundboard that's just about to get our coat of finish. It's been cleaned up. Yeah, I could have cleaned this up a little better, but I mean the bridges are mostly sound. There's a couple cracks in places. Shouldn't be a big deal. There's a little crack running along here. This shouldn't, in and of itself, cause a big problem. I know some people are getting ready to type, but that's okay. I'm going to stick with that. And I will deal with those problems if there are any problems. So this thing, a couple coats on here, and then I'm going to be ready to glue it in. Our case is out here. I stained it. Stain on. Put the decal on. It's looking a little darker than I wanted, right? A little bit darker, and it does change when you put clear on it. It does. It's hard to describe. This may look like an old piano with a new finish on it, which might be interesting, I think, in some ways. So I'm going to get this. I hung these things up like this on purpose because you can spray both sides at once, which is a time saver. But it also, technically, if you put a finish on something, it may warp slightly, which is, I know, that's another pretty loaded statement. I didn't say that. So anyway, here's the varnish I'm going to use. It's waterborne. I'm happy about that. It's December in upstate New York. It's cold. If I had to vent this stuff significantly out the windows, yeah, you would vent the overspray out, but you also vent the warm air out, and what comes in is cold air. And especially with nitrocellulose, which dries really rapidly, you can have moisture issues. So I'm not going to have to vent the air out because I probably won't die from breathing this stuff. And B, I know, being waterborne varnish, maybe you wouldn't have those issues anyway. So who knows? But I think that's where we are. I'm pretty sure that's where we are. Oh yeah, I did bring out this paint pen for a reason. One of the unfortunate things about painting over this plate is that they really did the lettering very nicely on here back in the old days, and you can tell there's some knife edge tool that is very hard to replicate with something like this. But the good news is these letters are not, sometimes you get a plate where the letters are just they're not well defined and they're hard to draw on top of. And that's not going to be the case here. So I mean, I'm going to outline these like they did originally. Some people now are just totally ignoring these things and not doing the lettering at all because it's a headache to get it to look nice. As many years as I've been doing this, sometimes look at it and go, yeah, I understand why people don't do the lettering anymore. But to me, a plate without the letters being done on it just looks funny. So is there anything I left out? I'll put this number back on here. And that's it for today, I guess.